Hey everyone, Connor Brace here. Today's track is loosely inspired by a tune from the Avatar soundtrack called Bioluminescence of the Night, and it's the one that starts off with this light piano figure, just delicate in a high register, single line, and uses that as a backdrop for most of the track. And I like that idea, and it relates closely to something that I do a lot, which is start off in a really delicate sort of place and then move into more lush stuff from there. So with a tip of the hat to Avatar, this tune is called Lament for Another World. Okay, so just to quickly glance over the structure here, we start off with this piano figure, just sort of loosely establishing the harmony, which is D minor going to G, or G over D in that case. Then we have a melody in the viola, and then that's picked up by the violins and the whole string section comes in. And this material is really sort of simple in concept. There are a couple spots where the harmony goes a little bit sideways and then comes right back to what you would expect, but for the most part, just really straightforward. It's a little bit more complex in execution because I'm never wanting to just have like a string pad going on that sits. I'm always trying to have these moving lines that push forward and keep things interesting. So for example, right here in the violins 1, we have these notes on the melody. The obvious way to harmonize that for the violins 2 would be this. So I've taken that line and stretched it down a little bit with that first interval. That just seems a little bit more lyrical to me to have the moving line have that stretch in it. And then instead of having a quarter note leading into the next measure, I went ahead and added some extra notes there. So there's actually a triplet there that pushes forward. So it's just this kind of thought process that leads to these internal suspensions and rubs and these counter lines, and everything is always moving, and this is probably why it takes me forever to write a tune. But I do like the results of that a lot. So moving on, we have a section where the piano actually drops out for a moment and there's just high strings. And then this is going to move right into a climax. Let me stop again just for a moment to talk about the strings here. I guess two things I'd like to talk about. One is the fact that I'm using cinematic strings and Lass here. Lass is still my go-to string library, and cinematic strings is a little bit less sort of detailed, but it's got this nice sort of lush, warm sound that works really well in certain situations. And also I discovered that they blend really nicely together. So here I'm just experimenting with using them sort of as different elements in the mix. I've kind of got the last section. Let me solo this for you just a little bit. This is kind of acting as sort of the front part of the section, so you get clarity and detail and realism. And then cinematic strings, which are going to be at a lower level, are kind of acting as the back part of the section and giving you that sort of lushness and warmth and all those kind of lovely adjectives. So I feel like I've still got a ways to go, but this is seeming really promising, and I think somewhere here in the combination of LAS and CS2 is something that I would be happy to call my string sound. And then the other thing I want to talk about at this moment with the climax is I actually had it originally voiced like this. And let's just look at that chord for a moment. This is from the violins 1 going down. This is A, C, E, A. So the cellos have this low A, and then the basses have the A an octave below. So this is a nice open sounding voicing using fifths and sixths, which is totally standard. The first time I heard this played back in context, though, I thought something had gone wrong with the mix, because suddenly it felt a little bit harsh, and I was having a hard time hearing the piano cut through like I wanted to. The piano is playing this melody here. Same thing as before with an added layer up top. I thought the problem was with the mix, but it actually turned out to be with the orchestration or with the voicing. So again, here's the first version, and here's the second version I had. So what I did with this version is I moved that open fifths and sixths voicing down an octave. So starting from the violins 2, we have A, C, E, A. So this is all down an octave now, and instead of there being a lower octave at the bottom, there's a higher octave up top for the violins 1. So there are two sort of distinctions that I want to make with that change. One of them is that the voicing is moved from here with an octave down below to here with an octave up top. And right off the bat, that sounds a little bit warmer and more grounded than the previous version. And also, now that we've got an open octave here between first and second violins, this is exactly the range that the piano's in. So all these moving eighth notes that are sort of dancing around here now sort of have some breathing room, and they're coming through more cleanly. For the final version over here, I actually went ahead and just doubled the first violin melody at the octave. So it's the same idea, and the first note is voiced the same way, and I just continued that through to take a little bit of weight off of the stagnant chords and add a little bit of more weight to the melody. And now it's as if we're hearing a second half of the melody that we didn't hear before. And then just recapping both of those ideas. And the reason these are split off as opposed to being up here with one part, I originally just played these lines in with one played in line per section, regardless of the cinematic strings versus last distinction. is because Lass here has some sordino parts, and cinematic strings is just playing open. The combination of those sounds with the Lass sordinos and then cinematic strings, which is already kind of warm to begin with, came out really nice, I think. So that's the track. I hope everything came out clearly because there's actually been some thunder here, so I don't know if there might be a rumble in the track, but hopefully not. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.